What's up, YouTube? First and foremost, shout out to Alien Army. Raise up, stand up, hit a like button, and definitely drop a comment. If you don't know what Alien Army is, those are people who are subscribed to me. They rock with me heavy by always hitting the like button and dropping a comment. I do respond to 99.9% of my comments, so you should definitely rock with me. I know that I'm a small channel, so it's easy for me to do that. However, even if I get big, I still want to do that. We're more than just a YouTube channel over here. We're a community, and if you like my content, I ask that you join and you participate. Hit the like buttons, and like I said, drop a comment. Also, if anybody wants to show me love or bless me, my Cash App's the same as my YouTube, AlienAscend. I'll put that in the description. Also, if anybody wants to reach out to me on, like chop it up, or you're going through something, or you want to say hi to me or whatever, something private or whatever, like private, like you could put whatever you want as a comment, which is cool. But if you do want to reach out to me on a private side, I do have my email in the description as well. It's called alienarmycontact@gmail.com. Real quick update as well. I did get a bunch of your guys' feedback yesterday. If you guys would still if you hadn't seen yesterday's video, please go ahead and take a look at it. And I believe it says Alien Army Team Huddle. I believe that's what I named it. Go ahead and watch that video if you haven't seen it already. Then please participate in the comment section with the feedback. I did get some feedback saying that it might be too early on for memberships, and perhaps you're correct. But I did want to do something so if somebody wanted to show me love or bless me or whatever, that's not a membership or whatever. So I did turn on this thing called super chats. Super chats will, if I'm going live, you could super chat me, which basically send me money or something like that, right? But it also has a thing called super stickers, which I believe are for videos. So if anybody wants to show me love or bless me and send me a super sticker, I'm interested to see what it looks like. So if anybody wants to do it, it's totally cool. Not on here begging, just throwing that out there. So I did get quite a bit of your guys' feedback. So you guys like my story times. So I don't think I've ever gone into full detail about this. This is how I got here, which is the Midwest, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that. I think that if you watch all my videos, you could probably piece together how I actually ended up here, but it'd probably be better for me just to do a full video and talk about everything that pops in my head while I do so. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. All right, so I went to travel. How I got here in the Midwest was a UFO that looks like a stork and dropped me off when I was a baby. All right. No, it's corny. Just joking around. No, I am originally from the West Coast. It all started from truck driving, and more important than truck driving was actually going to trucking school. So I had went ahead and ended my lease with my place I was staying at. I went ahead and packed everything up. I got rid of everything other than what could fit in my trunk and fit in the backseat of my 2018 Honda Civic. Most of it was sentimental stuff. The other stuff is video games. I had a lot of retro video games and stuff like that, and clothes. But I packed everything up. Let's say, for example, I went to trucking school and things didn't work out. I would be homeless and I had no money. And at that point, I had ended my job, and I was over 14 years working in the medical field at that point. This is in the height of the pandemic. I know that there was different stages from 2020 to 2021, and even a little bit 2022. But it was dying off. Most of it did. It all depended on what you were doing and what state you were in, I guess, right? But truck drivers were essential workers, and there was a bunch of rules and regulations. Always wearing a mask at school. Well, unless you were outside. If you're outside and you're on the pad 6 feet, they wanted people to stay, about 6 feet away from them. Anytime we got in the truck, we actually had to have our mask on as well. If you see me get distracted, I have some little bit overripe bananas right here, and I still will eat them. Bananas are one of those things that I forget to go ahead and eat, but nonetheless, we got a couple little freaking gnats that want to fly around here, and I have all the light pointing in this direction. I got bananas right here, so if you see anything flying or that, I'm probably gonna put those in the refrigerator, and hopefully they'll make it not take so long. But nonetheless. So I'm doing OTR. I'll actually, yeah, now I know what I'll do. Okay, stay with me, guys. When I was underneath the trainer's truck, I had 2 different trainers, but the one that I did over the road truck driving when I had my Class A CDL, which I still have now, just in case anybody's interested. I still have my Class A. I still am in good standings. I still have a physical. My physical is good till the end of next year. End of this year, and I think it's February of next year, if I remember correctly. I'll have to take a look, but nonetheless, when I was on this truck, everybody who he's ever trained has always became a lease operator. So I was the only person that was going to that he's ever trained that was going to go company. I knew going to trucking school, I wanted to be a company driver. Why? I saw a lot of people change their minds, especially when those lease operators would show just how much money they were making, especially back then. I mean, most of the time it was, like finding a $3 a mile $3 a mile freight trip or whatever, was pretty common. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're very common nowadays. I don't think trucking is in the best standing right now, but I could be wrong. But they were making a lot of money, especially if you were actually doing training. If you're training, you basically while you're sleeping and you're a lease operator, you're making money. You know what I mean? But when I had such a great trainer, he wasn't trying to persuade me or anything like that. He's like, if you ever become a lease operator, this is something I'm going to teach you as well. So he taught me, how to actually, what my cost would be, what do I need to calculate, the different apps on the phone to actually find the cheapest fuel and diesel. Finding, DEF is already cheap, which is diesel exhaust fluid. If you didn't know, just DEF. But a whole lot of stuff like this. So he taught me everything I needed to know if I ever decided to be a lease operator, and a lot of different lease operating contracts like lease purchase and stuff like that. So he taught me a bunch of the contracts and what to look out for and stuff like that. I wanted to be a company driver, and it just took me a second to remember something. That's all. Wanted to be a company driver, and at the end of all that stuff, I went ahead and when it came to upgrading, or before even getting on the truck, I think I was asked a questionnaire. Like, I had to do a personality test so that I got actually matched up with somebody who had the same morals and same standards and personality traits and things like that. But I was asked, would I ever do team driving, and would I be interested in ever doing team driving, or would I ever be interested in training? And I was interested in both. Not right away, but I guess what I wanted to say real quick about the lease operating stuff, I don't think it's a very good idea for when anybody gets their license. The first thing that they should do is go ahead and start becoming a lease operator. There was a stupid freaking gnat. But why I don't think that is if you just barely got your regular license, should your first brand new car be a Porsche, or should it be a McLaren, or should it be like that? You don't even know how to drive a bucket or a mid-size level vehicle, or a brand new daily driver like a Toyota Prius or whatever. But you're going to go ahead and jump into a sports vehicle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. It made sense to everybody else I do know one friend who did go lease operator. He was a flatbed, and he was extremely successful, and he got really, some of the stuff just lined up perfect for him. I mean, of course, he really worked hard and everything else, but some things did line up perfect for him and actually made him even more successful. His truck, he had a lease purchase option at the end of the truck, and that truck was worth a lot more money at that time. They started doing a thing called pulling out the pedigrees. It was pedigrees were older trucks, and there was a big old shortage of trucks at the time, so they had rolled out some older vehicles and stuff like that. He was on his the last year of his truck. It might have been the last 6 months on that truck, and he drove it for a whole year. But at that 6 months, he got a big old bonus, the lease purchase bonus, and he actually had a lease purchase option to go ahead and buy that truck. When he bought that truck, I think with the purchase price and everything else, I think he only had to come out $13,000 out of his pocket, and that truck was still worth a lot. Like, I would assume over 50 grand. I'll have to find out, but that's just a side note. Just to I know that some people enjoy when I go off the side a little bit, because I get some other details and stuff. So I'm purposely doing that for you. I'm trying not to trip on my words though. So anyways, like I said, I had said that I was interested in training, and then also possibly running a teams. I was interested in doing a little bit of training, and if things worked out, cool, to do some basically some team driving. But I'm the A-list driver. I'm the shot caller. I'm the one who got the truck. I'm the one who's running solo, and I didn't want to do this for a while. Like, I wanted it towards after 6 months, after 9 months of driving trucks and stuff like that. I've done a lot of training, to tell you the truth. I've done training, and not I did teams when I was doing OTR. Regional, no, never did teams. I did do training around that time as well. Some of the stuff I did with training, I never even got paid for, and I could talk about that in a later video. Just basically being a nice person, helping people out, and quote unquote helping a company out, because the more safe that everybody is, with trucking, the more safer the community is, and the people on the road. All right, so I had a dude on my truck, got along with him really, really well. I knew him. He was an Army Ranger before. So he was a vet. He was an Army Ranger. On top of him being an Army Ranger, he used to actually work in corrections. Normally, and his corrections was a county jail, and it was a very small city that probably nobody's ever heard of, and everything else. He was a really good guy. I taught him a whole lot and stuff like that. He started having some issues sleeping, if I remember correctly. I thought he was sleeping in the bunk just fine. Like, this is towards the end, so I caught wind that he basically told me, he's like, hey, when I'm back there, I'm not sleeping at all. He's like, I'm going through something, and I was like, okay. So I made it a point for me to stop at a terminal when I could, especially right then and there. Like, I went ahead and delivered something that day, and I knew 50 miles from where we were at. We just got so lucky that the company we worked for had a terminal there, and they had private rooms for drivers where you can it's no TV, nothing like that, just a bed and a couple electrical ports and a light on and off. And he was just he expressed that he wasn't sleeping well in the truck. So I went ahead and went there and let him get in. Get that going. Get that going, and then I basically said, give me a day off. Where I'm going to let him catch up. And I told the dispatcher that he wasn't happy. Of course, why would he be happy? They just want money. They don't care what you went through until everything gets delivered, and then on top of that, they will want more from you. But nonetheless, at some point, I remember him saying that he wanted off the truck, and it was no argument or anything like that. I believe what the conversation happened was he was renting a house together with his cousin, and his cousin had said, with the experience that you have, I could probably get you a job where I work at. So his cousin was a truck driver as well, but he had a home daily thing. Said that, and I think that piqued his interest. And then he was also getting pretty tired of being on OTR for the when I was training him and everything like that. I wish I knew exactly how long I had to do it on the truck for. I'd probably say it was probably a couple months, but I was going to do OTR for at least a full year, and I never took home time at all. So I didn't have a home to go to. I had packed everything up and went to truck driving school. If anything should have happened, I would have been homeless just like I am now, except, you know what I'm saying? Except for I have a little bit more experience and stuff like that. So I get told, he tried to organize a way for his cousin to come pick him up in the state that we were at, because we were only, I think, about a state and a half away from where he lived at. He argued with the dispatcher, and then the dispatcher got on the phone with me. He said, I'm going to call Alien. Calls me. I say, okay, what do you want me to do? He's like, evidently he can't get picked up from where he's at. Go ahead and go to this terminal. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay, that's where I went to school at. So that particular terminal is where I went to school at and everything else. I had drove my 2018 Honda Civic there, and I had it in long-term parking, which is pretty damn common. What am I supposed to do? Sell my car and then go to trucking school and then find out if one, is it for me? Two, am I able to get the license? Number three, there's so much stuff that you don't know until you don't know what you don't know, is what I'm saying, right? That place is pretty damn cool though. They'll start your car for you. They'll put your battery on a tender from time to time. You can easily get a jump if you've been sitting too long. A lot of the vehicles in there actually all have like slow leaking tires. Like some of them are Cadillacs with 4 flats. Some of them have just a sheet over it. In the long-term parking, there's motorcycles, and some of the instructors and some of the people that work inside the building of this mega carrier once a week will go and start it and stuff like that. I didn't leave my key with anybody there. However, maybe every once every month or two, if I'm in that area, I'd go ahead and go to that terminal. And when I go in that terminal, I could do my laundry, take showers, and get some of the amenities there, like washing clothes and stuff like that. Then also anything that I needed to do grocery wise, I would go get my car and I'd go ahead and start her up, and go to the store and everything else and get things that I might need, right? But like I'm saying, take him all the way there. And he asks me, the dispatcher, he says, I can get you a student on as soon as that dude gets off, or I can get somebody in there to run teams with you. I got two options at that terminal, that when you drop them off, as soon as you drop them off, they're actually at the terminal waiting. And I said I wanted some time. I was like, nah, dude. I was like, give me a couple months. Let me. I want to get back to me just being in the truck. I personally like being in the truck by myself better than people around me. Um, However, there's times where when you get to know somebody like my original trainer, the dude who I was in the truck with, that dude was cool as hell, man. We had funny conversations. Sometimes we get on each other's nerves, but when I first got on there, it's a total stranger. You know what I'm saying? Basically a total stranger. You don't know how things are going to turn out. You don't know where somebody's moral compasses might be. You don't know how arguments go. You don't know a lot of stuff. So when somebody's a stranger and you're on a truck, it sucks. I would rather be by myself. Also, there's some fun stuff that you can do when you're in the truck driving by yourself. Like I bump the music really loud. I can't do that when I have a student or somebody I'm running teams with, because when I'm up, they're sleeping, so I can't have the radio on and stuff like that. The best I can do is play podcasts or play music through my headset. That's it, right? So I tell him that. And when I tell him that, he's like, one of the reasons we give you the truck that you got was because of you saying that you were interested in training and running teams. He's like, when you go there and you drop them off, I want you to drop that truck off as well. So because I'm a company driver, this is something that they can do. If you take home time that's too long, so let's say that you've earned 3 or 4 days of home time. If you're gone longer and somebody needs that truck and you're a company driver, they will just normally they won't be jerks about it unless they're upset about something. This dispatcher was upset at the fact that he had two people that needed he had two different options for me to either train somebody or get somebody on my truck and run teams, and I wasn't interested. I was like, I need a couple months, and he did try to pressure me. He's like, man, they're there right now, dude. You know what it's like when you first get your license and stuff like that. Not when you first get your license. What was he saying? He was like, there's a shortage with this stuff, and you said you signed up for it, and blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to be selfish. I want to be left alone for a couple months and enjoy my truck. Enjoy it in the best way that I know how, because at that time, it is what it is. I don't want to get into it. But he tells me I need to drop that truck off, and then he says that he wants me to take home time. He says that I haven't had any home time and to drop it off, and that after the home time, I could find out if there would be a truck that's available at the Salt Lake City place. There wasn't going to be one for a while. Like I said, there was still some shortages and stuff like that going on over the full year of me working over OTR. I did a little bit over a year, if I remember correctly. But I at least did a year because that's what I signed up to do. I go ahead and just to let you know, if you were in truck driving and the way that they say you get a free license is by working with a company for a year, they get a government program, and it's the government that actually pays the mega carriers to offer that stuff. Some companies will put that against your credit history, but a lot of them won't. And if they do, it's really easy for you to fight, or you can get talk to a credit specialist. So if you I knew several people that worked for that company, and after the first week or after the first couple of months, they quit. And when they quit, they never got asked to pay that money back ever. And I'm still in contact with them now to this day. I got a lot of basically lifelong friends that I met during trucking school, right? So that's just to throw that out there. So I got to drop the truck off, and then he did say that there was trucks available in the Midwest at another terminal. Where that is where also that the state where that is exactly where my friend Angel lives. Her husband lives. Their two daughters live. There's a couple other people that I also know that live there as well. One of my good friends lived here. Him and his old lady. There was also a couple people that were kind of acquaintances. Like, I might not have their phone number, but I met them, but that we were cool. You know what I mean? So I get in the car, and this this is what one of the things I want to emphasize. This whole time that I'm on that truck, Maybe when like the only people that really stayed in contact with me were other truck drivers. Like, oh, I'm going down the road to go pick up here or drop off here, and those conversations did feel like it was few and far between. I started group chats with like different family members and friends, and other than like every couple of days maybe one word thing, I felt very alone on the truck, and I was alone. You know what I mean? People had their own problems and their own stuff that they were dealing with. And I thought I was doing very well by trying to still, keep in contact with family and friends. You know what I mean? And I did it to the best of my ability. However, they had their own problems going on as well. And it really sure did feel like nobody was responding to me or talking to me or anything like that. But so it was definitely a hard year for sure. I saw firsthand that when I got off that truck, just how many people's lives were impacted by that pandemic and everything else. But getting back to it, I hadn't seen anybody, and I needed to head to the Midwest. Anyways, I had called Angel, and I told her I was like, I'm feeling pretty shitty. I think I used the F word. I was like, things feel really freaked up. I go, I'm heading over there. I just had to turn my truck in. It felt like I was kicked in the balls, basically, or kicked in the ass, whatever, however you want to say. That because I didn't do that. You just took my truck, and now I don't even know what kind of truck I'm going to get. But I guess I'm going to head out to that direction. But I knew that I didn't have a home to go to. Who was I going to go ahead and see? I wanted to see Angel. I wanted to see her kids. I wanted to see her husband. I wanted to see my other friends. So I started driving directly out to the Midwest. I had to take everything out of my truck and turn the truck in, and then put everything in my car that I was going to keep. At that time, I drove to the Midwest, and when I was driving over here, I talked to Angel on the phone, and I told her, I was like, I'm somebody who doesn't like to be touched. Okay. It takes a long time for me to let my guard down for even family or friends. Like dapping somebody up on the hands, cool, but I honestly don't like being touched. So I told Angel, I was like I need a hug and I need to see a friendly face. I'm kind of tripped out, and she's like, me just saying that knew that like she knew. A lot of people that know me, if I say I'm not okay, it's kind of like, because I keep things inside most of the time and stuff like that. If somebody said I had the worst day of my life, everybody would get, saying that would get everybody's attention. When I say I'm not doing okay, for the most part, that's kind of like saying that it's the worst day of my life. But I just don't like to express that. I have a hard time expressing emotions at times. And also, what good does it what good does it do? I understand being on the camera and talking to everybody. It's good for me to go ahead and express those things to get my story out, and maybe me saying those things, other people can relate to it. But for the most part, when I say I'm not doing good, that means that I'm doing really crappy. I don't need to go crazy over it and say it's the worst day of my life and I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin and these freaking gnats are pissing me off. At least I'm honest though, these damn bananas are the culprit. It's not like I'm some dirty person, with food everywhere. It's freaking bananas. So I started heading over, and I started heading directly to her house. As soon as I got off the phone and told her that, like 10 minutes later, somebody had called her, and it was a mutual friend, but this person was closer to her, and called her and asked her, like, hey, I've been checked up on you for a while. How are you doing? And she's like, I'm doing okay. Like whatever her conversation was. But she mentions, she's like, hey, Alien's coming over here to the Midwest. And, let me tell you, and this guy's a truck driver, right? So she's like, yeah, he just had to turn, he's a company driver. He just had to turn in his truck and for him to get a new truck. But they wanted him to take home time, and he's got up to 28 days or 30 days of home time, and he can come back to the company. Even if I stayed longer, if I took home time over a month, they would hire me right back because of like the good job I did and everything else and stuff like that. They would hire me back. It just would take a couple of days to go through orientation again. But one of the rules at that time was if you haven't driven a truck or worked for the company, if your home time exceeded over 30 days, it was an automatic no-show fire. That's the way that they rolled with it. Excuse me while I slapped the shit out of a freaking gnat that wants to land on my phone. Like I said, all the light coming right here. Normally people would be embarrassed, but not me. I don't care about gnats. Fuck you, gnats. I don't know why I said that. That's kind of stupid of me. Cursing like that, is very unbecoming of an alien. All right, so she tells him what's going on and everything else, and she's like, and that dude is like, man, at that time that guy had already did over 4 years of OTR himself, and then he had been working for a company out here in the Midwest for 3 years, and he's like, I can get him a job over here, and it's got the best pay, it's got the best deliveries, it's got a dispatcher who doesn't play that kind of bullshit, and they're honest. She's like, that sounds pretty cool. She's like, I'm a three-way alien right now. So she calls me with him on the line, if I remember correctly. That, or she shot on my phone number, and basically offers me a job right then and there. I was coming out here anyways, and it was home daily. I could drive during the day or nights. This particular dude drove at nights. He said, out here in the Midwest, you're going to want to drive at nights for a few different reasons. One, to beat the hot heat and the humidity, but the nights, and also the nights having less traffic. Man, all right. So he offers all this stuff to me, and I says, it sounds pretty good. I said, let me actually check out the locations and check out the competition, because one of the things that and that's why I talked about my trainer in the beginning is when he taught me everything with the lease operators, he showed me where all the good freight lanes were, and they're all out here in the Midwest. Like, you can have a position in almost anywhere in the United States if you have a Class A. However, the more years of experience, like if you have at least 1 or 2 years, any company basically will take you. 99%, well, 90% of them will take you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have a year, that's when they're gambling. Like, do we trust this person to be driving a $150,000 truck, truck and trailer? Are you able to back it in and everything else? But I said, I wanted to check out all the competition, and I did, and I looked at all the other companies, and what my buddy was telling me, it did sound like it was the best. You know what I mean? Like the best fit for me. So I show up to Angel's house. I give her a big hug. I see her kids, give them a big hug. I see her husband, give him a big hug and dap him up. We're Doug hugging, and everything else. And she asked me where I was going to be staying at. Until I figured things out a little bit, or was I going to go back to the company? I was a cheap trucker at that point. I was like, I'll just stay in my car for a couple of days and probably go over there. But let me find out about this job, because it actually does sound very, very, very good. This sounds like I'll make a lot more money, and I'll at least have some home time balance. I've been stuck in a truck for over a year now. You know what I mean? And I had opportunities to take home time, but I just didn't have a home. And also like I said, the communication had been very low, and everybody was dealing with the pandemic stuff. People weren't, friends and families, that people that I knew weren't socializing and still talking and having meetups and stuff like that. Everybody was basically still on a continued lockdown. It felt like, you know what I mean, or it seemed that way at least. I go ahead, and from there, she reminds me about my friend. I'm gonna give him a name. I'm gonna call him K-Dog. She's like, K-Dog hasn't seen you yet. You need to go over there and check, give him a call. I'm like, oh yeah. That's why I wanted a couple days, to try to, I needed to see friends. I needed to see people that I trusted. I needed to see people that I loved, and I needed to brush some of the cobwebs off in my brain and stuff like that. And that whole time being on OTR, it did feel like a lot of stuff from my past had started creeping in, and I was catching myself, finding myself kind of reliving things and it was harder for me to deal with stuff. Maybe it was the solid, being in that truck that long, or having that much time to think, not being able to do, all you do is work. You eat, and you sleep, and that's it. And you rinse and repeat, work. It's like no time for yourself. If you do have time, it's a 34. It's all about preparing your truck for your next trip. Pre-planning, your next week with the resources that you have available to you at that time in a commercial vehicle. You know what I'm saying? So I go see my buddy K-Dog and his old lady, and they're like, hey, stay here for a week, man. Because I was being a cheap trucker. I was like, and I did have money. I mean, that's all I did was save money while I was truck driving. I could have saved a whole lot more if truck driving, truck locations and stuff like that didn't charge so damn much, like charging so much for food and everything else and stuff like that. But I stayed there, and at the time, Angel. So like 2 days before I even got there, she's like, I don't have my car. My car's in the shop. She got sideswiped on the passenger side, and they had to replace, like, there was some damage to both her doors, but everything else was fine. So I stayed the night over at my friend K-Dog's house, and he's like, yeah, stay here for a week. And they had a spare bedroom. There was no loud kids, or anything like that. And we were just hanging out and vibing. And his old lady at the time really loves watching crazy horror movies, like B-rated ones, some that are really big. And I like those movies too. And she'd watch some crazy stuff, and I'd be in there laughing, and she was cooking us dinners, and it started feeling like, feeling normal and feeling good. It's nice to feel accepted and being treated good and missed. That's something I didn't expect, and that was something that I hadn't felt for a long time driving driving on the truck. So I said the next day, I think I talked to Angel that night, and she's like, hey, while you're out here, because I still wasn't sure if I was going to take that job or not. The dude was telling dispatch and telling the recruiters to come call me or send me an email. I think it was calling me. She goes ahead and says, come over here and let's, I'll show you the whole, the city and things around it and everything else. I pull up there and her and her youngest daughter get in the car. She's like, actually, let me drive if you don't mind. There's only been 2 people that I've ever let drive my car, right? I've let Angel drive my car several times. I would even let her borrow my car, which is no problem. And her oldest daughter, I actually helped teach her how to drive for her to get her driver's license. So only 2 people I've ever trusted and loved enough to let drive my vehicle. So she shows me around, and when she showed me around, I was like, well, if I did take that job, where would I move at? What locations are safe? So that's what we made the whole day of. And she's showing me different apartments, different condos and stuff like that. And when she shows me the apartment complex that I ended up moving into, she shows it to me, and it did look beautiful, and it did look nice. And she's like, this is in a good area. Talk to the leasing people. So like we looked at like 7 or 8 places, but somehow this place popped up. This place was actually turned very I guess it was already hood, but it got worse as the time went on. This is the place where I've actually had both my windows broken in. I've had tons of problems. I had people that lived across from me that were running a trap house. I had people next to me that ran it as a trap house. There was people that were next to me. Somebody broke into a vacant apartment and actually robbed and took the life of a pizza delivery person. My car was actually parked my car was a part of the damn crime scene. The guy tons of bad stuff started happening, and I've talked about that before. But nonetheless, when I go there, I talk to the people inside the leasing place, and I'm not used to some of the stuff that goes on. Like, I'm used to, if I go to get an apartment, it's going to take 2 weeks before a background check is completed. They might not have anything available. They're going to want a big security deposit. They're going to want to know references. Like, it's a big hassle or a big thing, or at least that's my experience before. I'm coming to the Midwest. She's like, yeah, in 15 minutes we'll find out if we can put you in one of these apartments. And she wasn't lying. 15 minutes later, she's like, yeah, we can get you moved in about 5 days. And I had already been there 2 days. And I said, okay. So I get the apartment, and of course, I go ahead and the recruiters from that job place do reach out to me. I knew that I could land the job, which was no problem because of the experience I've had. Had to do a hair follicle test, and I didn't even know I had to do that. And at the time I did have hair. I shave my head now because of me wearing hats so much, and the front of my head is very thin, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I choose to be bald by shaving it my damn self. I'm not gonna look all messed up. It's just not my style. But I took a hair follicle test. I shaved my armpits that day. I did not expect it. I think that was the first hair follicle test I've ever taken in my life. That's how I ended up in the Midwest. I did get the job. I'll tell you some details as well, because I know that some people like when I do that. The person who recommended me to get the job and stuff like that did get I want to call it like a finder's fee bonus or something like that. Is a reference bonus. A record. Like he got because he recommended me and stuff like that. He got like $3,000 or $4,000 if I remember correctly. At least $2,000, because I asked him, was like, the way that they worked with that is depending on how much experience you have and how quickly you acclimate and stuff like that. So my first week there, he was like, dude, I got it, bro. And I was like $1,000. He's like, upper. He's like, a lot more. I'm like, 2,000. And he's like, yeah, a little bit more. I was like, will you tell me the exact amount? I was like, I'm happy that you got the money. That's cool that they give you the money to recommend me. And I think it was a lot more than $2,000 if I remember correctly, something like $3,000 or $4,000. But like I was saying about that guy, he had done OCR for 4 years, and he did take home time quite often. And then when he started working with that company, he had to be on a truck for 2 weeks with a trainer. So for 2 weeks, 1 week he watched what the trainer was doing and all these deliveries and stuff like that. And then the next week he had to do it himself. I was on the truck with a trainer for 2 days. And so like when I've talked about, that I was really good at truck driving and stuff like that, like I really, really was. I know how to follow my wheels. I know how to follow the rules. I know it's following the rules to keep myself and everything else safe. Dispatchers and people try to peer pressure me, and I talked about that, why I quit truck driving and things like that. I just mentally can't deal with it. However, I talk about all sorts of crazy stuff from arguments to almost fist fights with dispatchers and stuff like that in the video, why I quit truck driving. But the very first day, because I guess I'll talk about that, my very first day for the job. So this is how I got to the Midwest, and then I'll talk about the job, my basically those 2 days. First day I was watching I sat there, I was in the passenger seat, the dude was doing local deliveries. I went ahead and I was smart, and I guess I pay attention. I watched and I wrote down the directions on a piece of paper, so I had a notebook. I wrote down the directions of every place that he delivered that day and what routes he took and what the setup was going to be. I did that without him even knowing it. Then also on top of that, every time he went there and he was doing macros, macros are within ELD, electronic logging device, but their method of, okay, I'm picking up this trailer, so I'm putting this trailer number in here. I'm dropping this trailer, doing this. I now came to the receiver. I've now left the shipper. I've now got live loaded. Now I've got live unloaded. All that stuff is pretty like universal for every company, but some of them use different macros. Some of them expect certain stuff. Some dispatchers you talk to, they're like, hey, just text me when you pick something up. You don't need to go ahead and send that macro saying that you just left the shipper or receiver. You know what I'm saying? So I wrote down all the directions of the places he went. I even wrote their names, and I saw what he was doing on the electronic logging device. And it wasn't like when he was in the ELD, he was actually, holding it. It basically looks like a tablet. If you've never seen it before, it's a tablet that's sideways. You could turn it upwards, and it'll go vertical or sideways. It is detachable. It needs to be attached for the charging thing, but you can take the charging cord off. And if you get pulled over for by a TOT officer, the first thing that they're going to check is your logs. 99% of the time, you hand them the tablet, and it's always got to be in reach of the driver. That's one of the rules. One of the rules is that your bill of lading for anything that you're transporting, you need to be able to reach that without getting off of your seat. And the same thing with your electronic logging device, and they're all mounted and connected the same way. And everything else, you just grab it and it's on a little swivel thing, kind of like a tripod that's able to move and adjust. But I wrote all that stuff down. The very second day, he throws me the keys, and he's like, okay, we're going to go over here. And when we're going over there, I've already memorized, and I had it on the paper and stuff like that. I memorized where we went. And when he's like, oh, okay. And I told him that, I was like, I paid attention yesterday. I don't know, if you're used to that. So I did a bunch of stuff that really surprised him. He was like, yeah, most people are at least on my truck for a week. He's like, you got all this stuff. At the very end of all of it, he says, I'm going to stand right here. And it was, he's like, pick a parking spot. So he's in the truck with me, I'm driving. He's like, pick a parking spot where you're going to back into, and you're going to do a 90-degree back. And I said, okay. I pointed out the one that I wanted. There was a bunch of them. It didn't matter. I could have picked any of them. He's like, I'm going to stand right here on the edge, and what I want you to do is I want you to do a 90-degree backing maneuver into this. And you can pull forward as many times as you want, but I wanted to let you know I'm not going to move. He's like, if you run me over, I'm not moving. I know for a fact he would have moved, but he was emphasizing that basically he wants to see, if there was a trailer right there and I backed in, am I going to hit that trailer? Because he's not going to move. So he was doing it like that. I actually did it without pulling forward at all. And he told me before I did the parking maneuver, he's like, you land this this back maneuver. I'm gonna go in the office right now. I'm gonna tell him to throw you some keys, and you're good. And I said, okay. So it took me 2 days. 2 days, and it took somebody who had already been driving trucks for 4 years. It took that person 2 weeks to go ahead and actually get the okay to start driving. I got those keys, and I was driving nights. I decided I want to go with a night shift, and that was actually the only thing that they had available at the time, which worked out perfect. I wanted to drive nights. I was, I'm not a solar powered driver. I can drive at nights or days, and I'm very glad that I drove nights, because those few extra seconds on some of those nights that I was doing delivery, especially when I was just getting used to, like what regional is. Like regional is a lot different than, it was regional, but I was home daily. So it just was a lot. It was a lot different than OTR, and I was getting used to that. Me having those few seconds driving at night to actually figure something out of okay, this is where I'm supposed to turn, or okay, I'm delivering to this building that has no lights on whatsoever, and there's nobody there. It's going to be a drop-in hook, and I need to go ahead and back this trailer in and everything else. There was definitely a creative adjustment, but. Nonetheless, that's how I actually ended up here in the Midwest. It all started from truck driving. So this is to summarize everything. It all started from truck driving. It all started when my trainer told me, that this is in this particular area, and anywhere in the Midwest, there's a bunch of Midwest states. Any of those states are like a central hub for truck driving and moving freight. And you had a lot of different trucking companies out here, so it was a good career decision. Also, because I was close to Angel and her family and her friends, that was something. When I left where I lived at, I didn't have anything to go back to, basically, other than to visit some family members, when they were available and stuff like that. But I didn't have a house. I didn't have anything. So basically, I became homeless the day that my lease ended, and I headed out for truck driving school. So homeless like that until I stopped driving OTR, which is over the road. I was at that point, I went ahead and got myself an apartment, and I signed a year lease. I stayed there, and stayed there for over a year for sure. I mean, more than over a year. I think I stayed there for 2 or 3 years, or a little bit over 2 years. I'm not 100% sure, because I can't remember right now. I'll have to look at the stuff. Maybe I even stayed there longer. I don't know. Maybe 3 years. I don't know. 2 years, 3 years. It's not important. I'll have to think about it later, and I don't want to be thinking where I'm having long pauses and stuff like that on this video. Just want to thank everybody for rocking with me. If you did watch the end of the video, let's type in the word choice inside the comments. CHOICE. Thank you so much.